Welcome everybody to Convo Fango. Today we have director David Yarovesky, director of Night
Hey,
Books, coming to Netflix very soon. Yay!
yay!
Yay! Okay, first of all, I personally am actually very excited for this. I saw the trailer and kind of lost my mind a little bit. So tell us a bit about Night Books, what it's about.
Nightbooks is about a boy who loves scary stories and he loves horror movies and he loves Fangoria magazine and he loves all those
Yay!
things. But when we meet him, he's tearing apart his room and he's throwing all those things away and he's going through, an identity crisis. We don't totally know why, but on his way down to the basement to throw all of the things he loves away, including all these like stories, these horror stories that he's written, he gets lured into an apartment. His favorite movie is Lost Boys, and he's walking past this apartment and he sees Lost Boys playing on a TV, and he gets sort of entranced or hypnotized and pulled into this apartment, and he's now been taken by this witch who has really no interest in him and is going to kill him until she realizes that he writes scary stories and she happens to need scary stories, and so he needs to read her a new scary story every night, or else she'll kill him. and it's sort of about his journey, and in one way, it's about him, becoming friends with the other prisoners in this apartment, and trying to escape. And another way, it's about someone who's sort of looked at as weird or different, someone who's creative, and as a result can be ostracized from his friends. It's about them sort of gaining a kind of inner strength and embracing that that's who they are, and finding the courage to be different, to be weird, to write scary stories, to stand out, because the thing that you do is magic and is special, and it's what we need, so it's
I
about
love
both
that
those
so
things.
much. Yeah, both of those things coming together to create magic. Now, I love
Yeah.
that because I mean, I guess I kind of was the weird kid who liked to write scary stories growing up. That's what I did. I imagine you can probably relate to that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little
Yeah.
bit.
And yeah, maybe a little bit, and that's great that there's something in people who we all find each other, right? We all like sort of connect in some way or another, that like, we had this obsession or this thing. It doesn't have to be scary stories, but just someone who loved to draw, or someone who loved to paint or make music, or whatever creative endeavor it is. It definitely made you stand out. It definitely made people make fun of you, right? You went through all of these things. You felt different than the other kids. You don't know why. And so I wanted to make a story for this generation to say, hey, like, you're not, like, it just said, you're not, you are weird, and that's awesome. Be weird.
You are weird,
and
but I say that as a compliment. Yeah.
and and find people who love your weirdness, because they're out there, and just, it's this generation, every generation has it tougher and tougher, but this generation, like, especially on the weirdness front, like, it's so easy to get bullied from all directions, and not just bullied on the playground, but then bullied online,
Mhm.
and bullied, like, and so I just wanted to just, I don't know, just give a letter of encouragement, or a piece of encouragement to this new generation, to keep going, you know.
I love it. So when you have little Easter eggs in there, like the fact that he loves the Lost Boys and he walks by and sees it playing in someone's apartment, was that in the book? Was it in the script? Is it something that you were like, let's throw this in there?
Well, there's like a fun thing about this movie, okay, and just like, I'm gonna do my best to put it to words, but some things are like exist in the, like, the magical. Some things get a little heady, I guess. So growing up, Sam Raimi was a god to me, and like, and it wasn't lost on me that, like, his work certainly inspired me as a filmmaker, and I, in a way, stand on his shoulders, although he's still making great movies and stuff, but I stand on his shoulders, and you could certainly, if you dig into my work, see his influence on me. And so Alex is this kid who's writing scary stories, and I really wanted the things that he creates, the stories that he tells, to sort of be influenced by the things that he loves, and to sort of have this generational passing of the torch, you know, because Alex in many ways was me. It was a very personal story to me. And so I wanted the things that he loved to inspire him in the way that the things I love inspired me. And that's sort of what I'm saying. It gets sort of like thematically metaphysical, or
Yeah.
you know, it's like film schooly, but in the book, it was, you know, Night of the Living Dead was his
Okay.
favorite movie, and that's what he saw. And I deviated a little because I wanted some of the color choices in Lost Boys and stuff to sort of come through, and when he's telling his stories, and so some of the, like, I wanted to bring elements of those movies into his creativity, you know, and yeah, so that's sort of the inspiration for all of that.
Amazing. I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. You don't have to answer as if it is, but does that mean we get to see his stories come to life when he tells them, maybe?
Um, uh, yeah, there's certainly. I don't think it is a spoiler. I mean, the book, like if you read the book right now, the main story stops, and you go into this anthology of stories. And what I wanted to do with that was, it's a tough thing to do, because when you're reading a book, you read a chapter for the night, you go to sleep, you come back, and so you can do that. But with this, you have a limited amount of time. You have you know, the audience's attention span is so shortened, and so I wanted to do something where we could take these stories and turn them into set pieces, turn them into trials. You know, Alex versus the witch. They're all set pieces, and they all have like stakes involved, and each one of them are sort of different. I'm really excited because they're very unique for it's just a really different way to do it. And I don't know, I think those sequences work in this really fun way, and I'm just excited for people to see it.
I'm very excited about this. Also, you're no stranger to working with kids in very, very dark worlds.
I know. I never imagined myself like being a director who works with kids a bit, but yeah, yeah, going from Brightburn to Nightbooks, I have some experience now working with younger actors.
Sensing a theme here. It's not just working with younger actors, it's working with younger actors in like these like very dark and sinister kind of circumstances around them in a sense.
I guess that's true, although Brightburn is certainly the Brandon in Brightburn is very is considerably darker and more sinister than Alex. Yeah, he gets pretty dark.
Yeah. Well, Alex is our good guy. He's battling the witch in this one. So Kristen Ritter's her look as an evil witch, just in the trailer, she looks like a bit of like a fashion icon. Like she has a really, really cool look to her.
Well, that is you know, that's my wife Autumn. She is a costume designer, and she's incredible, and she did an amazing job on this movie. And honestly, when I read the script, I felt incredibly compelled to do the movie because I felt so connected to Alex, and I felt like I could uniquely tell the story. There was and all the things I said before about wanting to sort of give that message. I wanted to work with Sam because he is like, you know, he was a god to me. And the third reason, which was also just as big as the other two, was that I read the script and I was like, Autumn needs to style this movie. Like like she needs to create these characters, like one who is more born in what she looks like, what she wears, and to really bring her to life. And man, she did such an incredible job. I cannot wait for people to see her, because it's just, I mean, her character is crazy. I mean, she's unbelievably mean to these kids in such a fun way, and 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 doing it wearing like sparkly gloves with long claws and, like, you know, like foofy purple, I don't know, like flair, and I mean, she's just such a fun villain, such a fun villain.
I think there's something so cool about that juxtaposition of like an incredibly dark personality, but she's wearing like these bright colors and these amazing outfits. Like it's just a really cool character.
You know, I'm always attracted to that stuff, right? I love playing with what you would conventionally expect as scary and being like unexpected. Obviously, at the end of the trailer, you see like a scary unicorn, and like that to me was so central, was to be able to, you know, take a unicorn which people feel so safe with and love, and to turn it into something, as you'll see, is as scary as the unicorn is, and to just, you can be scared of. You know, we've all seen movies where someone turns on a bright red light and you're bathed in red and a scary scene happens, and it's cool. There's no criticism to it, but I just wanted to open to other color palettes and other things, and to, you know, to use color that you're conventionally safe and sweet, and to turn those against you. I don't know. I like playing with that stuff.
I love that. That's some of my favorite stuff. It just looks very magical and whimsical. And that's, I honestly, I think that's kind of the stuff that drew me into horror in the first place when I was a kid, because that has a very magical, mystical kind of feel to it. And watching this trailer, I kind of felt like I was 8 years old again. Like that's the level of excitement I have for this, is I just feel like it's spooky and whimsical and fun, and like the kind of stuff that just like fun Halloween time stuff.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope, you know, when I made the movie, you know, people like you were who I was making it for, you know, and not only you, but you know, just, but people who love that kind of, those kind of things, you know, and you know, and the other thing is that like for as long as I've watched movies, I mean, Tim Burton has sort of dominated the visual aesthetic of what like horror fantasy looks like in some ways. Like Guillermo del Toro has certainly brought, you know, opened up his sort of subgenre of what fantasy horror can look like. And, you know, but coming into this, the power of Tim Burton is unbelievable. I love Tim Burton. I would never ever say a bad thing about Tim Burton. I love his stuff, but I didn't want to make a Tim Burton movie. I wanted to make, you know, my movie. Everything's crooked, and Tim Burton sets, and everything's, you know, stripes, and and you know, I really wanted to sort of, you know, I love this sort of stuff. I love the world building and creating a spooky world, and playing with the fantastical elements and stuff. But I just didn't. I didn't want it to be Tim Burton. I wanted it to be its own thing. You know, I didn't want the music to sound like Danny Elfman, despite being a massive Danny Elfman fan. And when we first started working together, he played me something that sounded very faint, but it felt like, it didn't feel like Danny Elfman, but it felt like inspired by Tim Burton's, you know, a fantasy horror. And I was like, no, man, I like, make me get, like, I want it to be like Get Out. I want it to be like Us. I want you to play the music like it's intense, like play to the stakes. And he was, got it. And he played me something, and I was like, oh my God, you nailed it. And like, man, he did such an incredible job. Like his score really, it elevates the movie and creates like a unique fantasy experience that you really haven't had. It's its own world, you know, and it feels that way.
I love that. It's a Yarovesky.
It's a Yarovesky movie.
It's
Exactly.
Yarovesky
It's
movie.
not, you know. Yeah,
I love that.
You know, I certainly stand on the shoulders of Tim Burton and Danny Elfman and what those guys did, on Guillermo's shoulders. Like, you know, none of this would exist without those guys. But I you know, I just wanted to make my movie. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a different thing. I mean, you can love and respect and be inspired by that stuff, but at the end of the day, you want to make your own thing, your own vision, bring your own vision to life.
It's sort of like you were saying, like I really wanted to explore pink and purple and sparkly things and candy and frosting and unicorns and magic and in a way that was sweet and turn it just as evil and scary as possible for families, so that everyone can enjoy it, you know?
Right. One last question for you. You had touched upon it a little bit, but what was it like working with Sam Raimi?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I could talk for an hour about it. Okay. So like, again, right. He was a god to me. And then the sad time with the frustrating thing with COVID is like, I did not meet Sam Raimi in person. Like, we would talk all the time, and he was an incredible collaborator. He had such good ideas. He would say something and I'd be like, oh my God, that's such like a Sam Raimi, like it's like, I see how he looks at the filmmaking process, and he's so supportive of my vision, but then like, he's such a great person to work with. I mean, if you can work with Sam, like they say, don't meet your heroes, but like, they didn't meet Sam Raimi when they said that, because he lives up to all of it. But I get to meet him in person, which was it was like, okay, I'm living like some teenage dream, and like I talked to him like I talked to you on Zoom, and it was so sad. And then I finally got to meet him in person when we were doing the sound mix, like at the end of the movie. And that's the same thing with Netflix too. Just like you, who got hired on this job during COVID, I got hired on this job during COVID. So I never got to meet any of my Netflix producers, the entire team of Netflix people who were great, who I worked with the entire time over Zoom. I never met him in person, and I never met Sam in person until the very end. And it was wild. It was such a wild thing to have made a movie with all these people and not meet them in person. And it was so great to meet them in person, and what an adventure it was. But man, Sam, I hope to work with him again. I mean, I love working with him, and I feel fortunate.
Sure you will.
I mean, I hope so. I feel fortunate. On my last movie, I got to work with James Gunn. On this movie, I got to work with Sam Raimi. It's like and every time I get to work with someone like that, I try to like stick my suction cups to their brain and just suck all the information out. Because they're all these geniuses who have like, I mean, and you work with them long enough, and you see why. You see how they process things. You see how they literally think differently, and it's inspiring.
That makes me so happy to hear. As a Sam Raimi nerd, obviously myself, like, I'm really glad that you're like, he's a god to me, and it was incredible. And I'm glad you finally, I'm so sad you didn't get to like meet, like hang out with him in person, working and collaborating the whole time. But what a finale though, that you did get to meet him at the end. That's like quite a finale. It almost
made the whole thing worth it. Yeah. It really did. It really did. And it was awesome. And man, I don't know, hopefully I make another movie with him, and we'll sit on set and tell tales of what our experiences on COVID were like, or whatever. Or I just want to hear stories about making Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, but and Darkman and many other things. But yeah, I mean, yeah,
I'm sure you're gonna have lots of chances to suction Raimi's brain. I feel like you have that in your future.
I'll knock on sofa.
Yeah, knock on sofa. That's gonna be the new term. All right. Term. Well, thank you so much, David. This was awesome. I'm super looking forward to this. NIGHTBOOKS hits Netflix September 15th. Check it out.